Today, we're going to try some Flowers Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. What's going on? It's Dublin. Come eat and drink with me. Like I said, we're trying some Flowers Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. Why? Well, why not? Because it's good wine. No, we're actually going to continue with the Burgundy Cru System rating California wines, Chardonnays, and Pinots. And I've been doing a lot of Premier Cru, even maybe some Grand Cru style, or not style, but rated, really premier high-end California Pinots and Chardonnays. Well, Dublin, what about something that's a little more affordable, a little more entry level to these premier vineyards, these wineries? Do they all just make crazy expensive wines? Well, some of them, yes. Some of them, that's all they do, and good for them. But you have people like Flowers who do make a nice entry level wine. And when I say entry level, I'm talking, like that $40 range. So that's why I was like, we need to try Village style wine. Because you have the Premier Cru System. If you're not familiar with the Burgundy Cru System, it is Village, Premier Cru, and Grand Cru. So what is Village? Well, Village is just not rated where they have the Premier Cru vineyards that they're sourcing from, or those Grand Cru vineyards. Or something a little maybe younger, or just not a terroir that's like developing quite as well. Maybe it's more of a blend of different vineyards. And that's why I thought this would be perfect, because it's Sonoma Coast. It's not single vineyard, but it is Sonoma Coast. So that is a designated AVA area. And that's why I figured this would be a perfect kind of Village wine, because they're sourcing it from Sea Ridge and a bunch of other little vineyards throughout Sonoma Coast that, abide by their farming rules. In Flowers, they have some pretty strict rules because they have organic farms. Their first one was planted in 1991, and it's Camp Meeting Ridge. And that is their single vineyard Pinot Noir. They have Camp Meeting Ridge, and it is excellent. That's definitely a Premier Cru. I mean, with some age, sometimes you might even mistake it as a Grand Cru, but maybe not quite there yet. But absolutely, they make some fantastic wines. They have a farming philosophy committed to highlighting the purity of coastal sites only. And this wine, they feel, reflects the characteristics of coastal influence, topography, and distinctive soils. So what is that? Well, that's terroir. They want Sonoma Coast-driven, terroir-driven Pinot Noir grapes. So I figured, let's try out the Sonoma Coast. Let's see what kind of blend they can get together, and see if we would rate that in that, Village wine, and what kind of components this brings that would get me to rate it as a Village wine. Maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just like a regular just Bourgeon, not even Village, just something like from some area or region. No one wants that. They want some sort of designate. They want to separate from the pack in some way. So let's see what we can do with this Flowers 2022 very young Pinot Noir from the Sonoma Coast. Now this bottle is 100% French oak. 20% of it is only new. That's 80% neutral. That's pretty neutral. I've heard like 60%, 50%, but if you get up there around 80% neutral, that's a lot of confidence in your grapes that you're like, we don't need a ton of oak in here to kind of meld and maybe mask a little bit of, the flaws in there. I'm not saying that heavily oaked wines are trying to hide anything. It's just their style. These folks don't want that to be their style. They want the fruit to really sing. So, all right, I kind of like the confidence. Let's see what they can do. Give a little sniffy sniff. Whew, that's a nice nose. Right away, you're getting like sweet berries. I almost want to say like a cherry liqueur, but it's not. It doesn't have that like that alcoholiness that's jumping out that makes you think of like liqueur. It's more of that concentrated sort of cherry. Definitely a nice like cola component coming out, which usually I think of Russian River, but absolutely it can be Sonoma Coast as well. I do think blueberry, which there's definitely a little blueberry in there. I'm already really liking this. I'm kind of excited. Flowers, what are you doing? Whew, that's a beautiful nose. I really like what's going on there. I don't know. I'm not saying Village, like wines don't have a good nose, but this might be batting, above their average right here a little bit. But settle down, Dublin. It's just the nose. Let's see what's in the palate. Okay. Yeah, I think I know what I'm talking about. This is definitely more of that Village style wine. Not saying a bad thing. This is not a bad connotation to be Village. There are really good, expensive Village Burgundies out there. I'm just saying it doesn't quite have that structure and that immediate just complexity and velvetiness that the Premier Crus have. What it does have is this could be some of the youth. There's a touch of disjointedness going on in there. They need some time to meld. Maybe those vineyards, multiple vineyards need to kind of come together a little bit more. But it does have some good flavor profile. There is definitely some complexity in there. It's not a ton. The finish is a little bit shorter than I like. Therefore, you're not going to get into that Premier Cru area. But there's definitely kind of like a nice tea component going on, along with your usual cherry kind of like red fruits in a Pinot Noir. It's almost like a little bit of like a white pepper or clove thing going on. That could be some of that 20% new oak. Usually, like you say, you get some of that spice. There's usually a little bit of that oak. This is not exactly what I say spicy. It's just those components are coming out. There's a little bit of a pepperiness. You could almost say it's like maybe it's more terroir driven. Some of that soil is bringing a little of that peppery, little bit of a spice to their berries. I don't know, but it's kind of interesting. It's kind of nice. This is a pretty decent wine, pretty solid. I'd say for the money, it's absolutely worth it. And I would say for being a now designated Village wine, I think that you have a really good starting point here with flowers. And if you're gonna just keep getting better with their single vineyard wines, I think they're setting the bar pretty high. Like, this is a pretty solid wine. You can pair this with a lot of different things, very versatile. I would definitely right away, I would say, something maybe with a little bit of smoke, some pork, some like hickory smoked pork chops or something like that. Oh, that would be perfect with this. Or just straight up like, slow roasted pork in some way, like smothered, in a little bit of sauce. Getting saucy with me, Bernays. Yeah. It definitely falls a little short with the finish. It doesn't linger a lot. It kind of hits your mid palate nicely and then just kind of falls off, and that's where some of that disjointedness kind of comes in. But again, give it a couple more years and some of that might go away. You might meld into a little more of those kind of cedar, kind of cigar box notes, that black tea, melding with those berries and red fruits. You definitely have something here. Definitely have a quality wine. You can tell it is derived from some quality vineyards. You have farmers and people that know what they're doing. You have a winemaker that has a vision, and you have a winery that understands who they are and what they are and what they want to present to their clientele. And this wine, like I said, if this is their starting point, it's a really great place to start, because there's a lot of terrible Pinots out there that are just completely just strawberry, watermelon, kind of watery Pinots that really don't have much going on with them. This is definitely not that. This is definitely a high quality wine. I'm happy with my preconceived notion that this would be a Village wine. I think I was pretty spot on with that. I put it as a quality Village wine. I could see where the really good single vineyard, the Camp Median Ridge, for instance, like that could definitely be a Premier Cru, no doubt. And maybe some of the really good vintages and whatnot, you might even say like Grand Cru. Probably a little, optimistic there, but I think we definitely need to dive in, check out some higher end flowers and see what these folks are doing. Maybe something with a couple more years on it, just to make sure we're giving them a fair shake. But overall, a good QPR. I say go out to your grocery store. I've seen this at plenty of grocery stores, at least out here in California. Right around that 40, 45-ish. If you have a place that likes to gouge, you might get up to 50. I think you're stretching it a little far there. I wouldn't want to pay more than $50 for this. no way. But definitely worth it. Especially like if this is on a wine list. Restaurants, this is the kind of thing where you would always probably see almost in every wine list. Perfect. If you're doing like a nice pork dish or whatever at a restaurant, this would be great for that. Bam, there we go. Get out there, get yourself a bottle of Flowers, Sonoma Coast, Pinot Noir, because gosh darn it, you deserve it. And you gotta try something new, because it's fun. Cheers.